Greetings, and today I am recording, I think this is part 5 of the Iron Judgment card reveal thoughts video. So I was studying all night, so I actually didn't even get to see the list, and it's almost midnight here. So I only got around to checking out the thread now and realized that there were 5 new cards that came out. So I sort of want to do part 5 as part of today's list, and if there's a list that comes out tomorrow, I want to show that one as well. So I'm just going to start off with the ones that came out today, September 25th, and just sort of give you my thoughts on them. Again, I was studying all night, so it was pretty tough for me to keep an eye on the list, so otherwise I would have made this video much sooner. But anyway, I'm finally getting around to it, so let's get started with our first card. Before I start on that, actually, just show you guys the list here of the new cards that came out. And I will leave a link to this thread in the description below in case you guys don't know where I'm getting this information from. So the first card we have here is Wagon. It is a machine, it is neutral. On deploy, if you control a bandit, it gets Zeal, and the orders are give an ally unit 3 armor. So I'm starting to see sort of a surge in like the bandit archetype slash like bandit support cards. That's sort of gonna be like a sub support for like the armor for Iron Judgment. I want to see like if they're going to expand a bit more on that, or maybe it's just a bit of like a sort of a start. But I'm liking how they're starting with these archetype things. So this card is pretty much a one-time use for 3 armor. 3 armor is a lot, so it can help support cards with barricade, cards with expose. You have to forgive me, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. So yeah, and it's good if you have your bandit out. Then I think this card works the best with Syndicate, because I think there are most bandits in Syndicate. There might be more bandits that come out in neutral, or they might have already that I've already noticed, and I just can't like remember it because I didn't really pay too much attention. Oh, and this is 4 provision for 4 power, so it's 4/4/4. But that armor is gonna help out with supporting barricade units, units that sort of rely on their armor. And yeah, so there's that. Next card here, I think this card is called Mutant. It's a Salamandra. So it looks like the Salamandra is, I think it's sort of I won't call it family, but like a family of units in the Syndicate faction. So the cards that we saw that are sort of expanding on the Salamandra, then they're probably gonna help support this card. This is Mutant, a 4 provision with 3 power and 2 armor for 5 overall life, so you already have a net benefit there. And it just has Intimidate. So this card is pretty much, this card is going to be the portals. This is going to be the portal target for Syndicate. I mean, you have the Sly Seductresses already, and you also have the I think it's the Cut Purse Lackeys. But this is just going to add an extra one. And this one I think is good in its own way, just because of the pure Intimidate factor. Is you can kind of wreak havoc with your crime cards. So it looks like they're probably going to start supporting more like what I'm trying to say is like you can probably play more put more crime cards in your deck, because now there's going to be a few more Intimidate cards that will work with them. And I can see Mutant being a card like that, because at 5 total power, it's going to be hard to remove it from a unit's ability. It would have to be by a special card, so probably cards like AT is going to destroy this thing. But again, we're kind of circling back into that topic, into like with more and more of these sort of engines and good mechanics coming out, not a lot of cards with like high damage output has come out. And when I say high damage output, I mean Assault has came out. Yes, that is true, Assault has came out. But like again, they're very limited in terms of those high damage output cards. So I can see this card being obviously a bit of a threat when it stays on the field for too long, because you know you're gonna play an abundance of crime cards with the Syndicate faction. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, but I'm excited to see this card in action. Next card from the Scoia'tael faction, we got the Dryad Enchantress. It is a 5 provision for 5 power. And on deploy, you give an allied unit vitality with duration equal to its armor. So I like that actually. That's actually pretty cool. Because this could probably help you shield your Dwarven Berserkers. I think that's what they're called. The new Syndicate, new Scoia'tael cards coming out in the Iron Judgment expansion. This can support them because they're currently at 2 power, 5 armor. This card can give them 5 vitality if they are untouched. So That'll be pretty cool seeing those. So this will be a way for the dwarves to sort of like maintain their position onto the field. And with 5 power, that's actually quite a bit of power, and it gets progressively stronger the longer that unit stays. And the fact that that card's at 7 overall life is already makes it hard for it to be removed already. With the additional support from this card, it's going to make it that much harder to remove. And this is sort of the way where you can kind of tell that you can commit around without having to use like big major gold card plays. So I'm excited to see this card as well. Decent power output for decent provision cost, and a really strong ability that helps support those barricade reliant cards. So I like this one. Next, we got the Endrega Warrior from the Monsters faction. On deploy, you consume adjacent units, spawn a drone on this row for each consumed insectoid. So similar to Bandits, we're starting to see a little bit of an insectoid outburst as well, with Yghern and I forgot the Kikamori Queen, I believe. So that Thrive ability will come out, and this is supporting again. The Kikamori Queen with combo with Caranthier, and this card comes out as well. So it's going to be more of a support. Not to mention, again, with the Kikamori's Queen ability, in case you guys don't know why I'm referencing that, is because if that Thrive ability is activated, every insectoid on the row gains 1 power. So again, you're taking away that Glusty Warp finish, but you are adding in more control elements. So you put this card in, it's going to summon 2 drones whenever you consume adjacent units, and not to mention with the Arachis Queen's ability already, 2 more Arachis drones will be summoned. So that just makes the control aspect even more powerful. You just gotta be a little bit careful because you already have a difficulty with a restriction of only 9 units per row already. So you don't want to overfill your rows by the time you want to play cards like Glusty Warp. But again, if you plan on playing the Kikamori Queen, not recommended that you'd play Glusty Warp, but you know, whatever works. I think you guys will find a way to make those cards work. So. But other than that, it's a 4 provision for 4 power. Obviously, it's going to be more than 4 power because I find that to be a super cheap cost for such a strong ability. This would be a bit better if it was like 5 provision, just because of how strong its ability is and its potential for combination. So there's that for the Endrega Warrior. And I think this is the last card on the current list. So again, I will have this uploaded tomorrow, seeing if there's another list that I'm just going to go through. That way I can just cover 2 days for one video because I am scheduled to upload on Thursdays anyway. The last card here is the Skellige card, and it is the Terror Crew Axe Wielder. So what this card does is on deploy, you damage an enemy unit by 2, and on exposed, you damage a random enemy unit by 2. So it's a 4 cost for 2 power and 2 armor for 4 overall life. But once you sort of use its full potential, it's going to be 6. So I like the first ability where you can choose what you want to damage. But what the problem with the exposed ability is that it damages a random enemy, so you're not guaranteed 4 damage on a unit. So let's say, for just for example, if you want to target this Trident Infantry and you don't want to use sort of your good special cards, you want to use a card like this with a Skellige deck, you can damage it by 2, but you kind of have to rely on RNGs here a little bit to sort of hit it again once it's exposed as armor. Of course, you can sort of just spam this card. I don't know if you can do that yet. I know when it exposed, like if you were to give it armor and then get rid of that armor again, will the exposed ability activate again? Because if it does, that's great. But at the same time, you don't really want to keep relying on that RNG, because by the time you get around to doing that ability again, obviously your opponents will have already played more units. So I don't know how I feel about this card. It is good though. It is pretty cheap. It is still damage. Even just on deploy, it's already a 6 for 4 because it's 4 for 4 already, plus the 2 damage that it does upon deploy. So it's already stronger than before. That expose does make it a bit less consistent in terms of like ensuring the removal of certain cards, but in terms of sort of your profit for your power versus your provision, it's already going to be a very big benefit. So there is that. So it's not just all downsides to this card. So before I get to the next card, I just want to let you guys know that I am dressed differently because this is the list that came out today. 3 new cards. So that's great. I'm just going to cluster them all up in one video. just to make it a little bit longer. So the next card just to show you the thread of the new cards that came out today, there are 3 that we're going to be looking at right here. It's great. So this is the Kikimora Warrior. So whenever you play an Insectoid, gain 1 armor in the melee row, and on exposed, destroy self. So again, sort of that theme of supporting the Insectoid archetype. This card can and will trigger the Kikimora Queen, and pretty much every time an Insectoid is played, this card gets 1 armor, which serves as a sort of offensive weapon for control and a defensive weapon to prevent the expose from happening. So you got that sort of balance in this card. It is a 5 provision, so relatively cheap. The only way you probably want to keep this defended is if its armor is probably over 5 or 6. So you kind of have to be able to last a turn with this card not losing any armor. And the thing is, I'm not quite sure how this, by the way, that's a very scary picture. I don't like, looks like that's a horse's head, that's a man's head, and this is a horse's foot. So that's oh boy, kind of graphic, but it's okay. I'm not sure what it means by whether you play. I know it's having this bit of a dispute. Whereas, because I'm thinking it's like, if you play this card, then you combo it with the Arachis Queen. Will this card get that 3 armor if you use up all the charges? If that's the case, then that's actually very powerful. Simply the fact that it's an 11 for 5 is already pretty good, but you just gotta keep that exposed ability. Now, another option is you could always silence this thing, but it's like, why would you want to do that when it has such a pretty good ability? And if you manage to if the ability does work with the Arachis Queen, sort of summoning spiders that sort of triggers this card's ability, then perfect, it's good. If it doesn't do that, then it has to be able to last 1 turn without it being hit. And again, it's still a pretty high armor, so it would take a relatively high output damage card to get rid of it, unless of course they're hitting you with charges, in which case there's really nothing you could do about it. But despite all that, it is still pretty cheap, so there's that. Next card here, we have Dire Mutated Hound. It's from the, I think the Salamandra is like a new family. Syndicate card is 8 provision for 4 power and 3 armor for 7 overall life. And a barricade effect at the end of every allied turn, boosts self by 2, and a fee of 4 to gain 1 armor. I just want to point out that I think I know that guy from the Witcher series. I think he's the mage from the Witcher 1. I'm not quite sure, I'll have to go look it up again. But anyway, going to the ability, well, I like the art first of all. Like the way they drew this hound is actually pretty good. And second, this going straight to the art, going straight to the ability itself. It is an 8 for 7. That's not too bad if you consider its barricade ability. This card just gets boosted. Not to mention, if you pay a fee of 4 coins, you get 1 armor. So it'll be protected even more, because the thing is, there is actually a big gap in damage output between 3 armor and 4 armor. Like the gap doesn't seem much because it is just one extra armor, but if you account for all the available resources out there to sort of, you know, get rid of the armor completely, it is a lot. Like there's a big gap between cards that can do 3 damage straight and 4 damage straight. So this card, I can see this card having some potential, and even if it does lose its armor, it's not so bad. You can always get cards that sort of give it its armor back. It is at the end of every allied turn, so if you do apply the armor on the same turn, it will get boosted right after that. So you are getting the boost ability from this. The thing is though, this card has the potential to be sort of a double-edged sword, because if you rely on this card that much for it to become that tall of a card, almost similar to Bincy Bloomerhold, is that they become vulnerable to like tall removal cards, but then again, they're not all available and stuff. So yeah, this card will still be pretty good actually. So I don't know why I should be underestimating this card. This card's actually pretty good. I like it. Fee of 4. It is a pretty high toll to pay just for 1 armor, but just because of how strong its ability is, I can see that. Maybe if the armor went down, sorry, not the armor, the fee went down maybe to 3, I think that would be a little bit more balanced, I think. Just simply because there are a lot of cards that rely on coin already, and you're putting even more stress on Syndicate by giving it by giving it a bit of armor support as well. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. I mean, I don't know, maybe this card's already balanced as you guys see it, so And the last card that came out today, we have the Terror of the Seas, which is a Skellige unit. It is a 7 provision with 4 power and 2 armor with 6 overall life. It does have the Zeal keyword, and on order, all the armor is gone and damage an enemy unit by that amount. Whenever you play a pirate, gain 1 armor. So again, I'm really liking the increased support for ships and pirates archetype from Skellige, because it already had some pretty good potential before any of these cards started being released. But now that you got these cards that are sort of giving it even more of a boost, so now you can sort of be more flexible with making a pirate / ship themed deck for Skellige, and it might actually end up being pretty decent. So regarding its ability, it's almost saying like expose damage an enemy unit by the amount of, actually no, that's not quite a lot, that's not quite what it's saying, because expose this, it can be done progressively, whereas this order ability is all armor is gone immediately. So this card does get progressive armor boosts from playing pirates, so which is actually pretty good, because there's actually quite a bit of pirates available for Skellige. So this card has a potential to be a very strong card and net benefit, because right now it's a 7 for 6. You essentially just need to damage. Actually, it's already a bit of a benefit itself, because you're not exactly losing power from using its order ability, and the armor being lost doesn't exactly count towards your points, and you damage an enemy. So actually, initially it'll be a 7 for 6, which will be a -1 benefit. But if you manage to sort of use its ability to play more pirates, then its benefit eventually goes up. Now, of course, you could get that opponent who will probably want to use its charges to want to get rid of your armor. Well, pretty sure there are other cards that will do pretty similar threats. This card is just a pretty nice engine to add on to the ships and pirates deck of Skellige, because they already have a lot of pretty strong engines. Like I'm pretty sure most of the ships have pretty good progressive abilities. Like I know the Lightning warship lets you damage 1 for 1, and I forgot the other one that damages your opponent by damages any card by 1 that your opponent plays on the field. So there are a lot of different this is just adding an extra engine to the pirates deck, which is actually really good, because this is actually a pretty good ability as well, and you don't even really need to worry about it too much, unless of course they're constantly paying it down. But again, it's sort of back to that theme of like not a lot of resources out there that let you either do tall damage or paying. Well, there are a lot, but it's like, how are you going to spread them out, right? Like, how are you going to allocate those damaging points? Because pinging and damage outputs are actually kind of valuable now with all of these actually super powerful cards that are coming out. So I can see a lot more decks out there that are going to rely more on like removal. So that's probably going to be like a bit of an aspect on control decks, where you focus on controlling the field and damaging theirs at the same time as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. At 7 provision, it's actually not that much. It's still quite a bit, but like with an ability this good, it's not that much, and what it takes to destroy it. And even if it does destroy it, every time you play a pirate, it's always going to gain 1 armor. So this card will always produce some sort of damage output as long as it stays on the field, because of the Zeal keyword. You can even use it almost immediately if you want, but the only problem is you can only use it that once. I don't think you can refresh a unit's abilities again. I think only Nilfgaard has that ability. No, that's only for the leaders. Never mind. Actually, no. Never mind. I'm losing my head. Anyway, so yeah. So we got that, and yeah, that's it. So those were all the cards that got released in the last 2 days, or not released, revealed in the last 2 days. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on them. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more Gwent for more Gwent content. Other than that, this is Zenzo signing out. I'll catch you guys in the next one.